What is a book? What can a book do? Must it have text? How can one make books about books? These are the kinds of questions Swiss artist Dieter Roth was asking when he began experimenting with bookmaking in the early 1950s. Trained in the technical side of printing, Roth was a master of his craft and collaborated artistically with concrete poet Eugen Gomringer. His innovative use of the book as an artistic medium has contributed to his reputation as one of the most original and imaginative post-war European book artists. He broke the boundaries of what a book is by elevating it from a means of transmitting knowledge and linear narratives to an art object to be exhibited. This Duchampian achievement was a pivotal moment in the history of the book and heralded myriad possibilities for the book as art.
Wie viele Minuten haben wir da geschafft? Weiter oben, auch noch ein paar Minuten weg. Scheiße, Mann.
One aspect of Roth's practices that merits attention is the early exploration with nonlinearity and conceptual spaces. Joanna Drucker explains that an artist's book's ability to function as a conceptual space is done either by presenting a conceptual piece or by using the book conceptually to duplicate a function normally served by a real space of performance or exhibition. Roth primarily worked with the traditional codex form, a structure able to efficiently exhibit content in a linear manner but allows the reader nonlinear access to the material. He also created unbound works whose disjunct form allows multiple entry points to their non-narrative, non-linear content. The CU Library's collection of Dieter Roth's books include his entire Gesammelte Werke, or collected work series, and here we will take a look at 4 that explore materiality and conceptual space. Roth created his first artist's book in 1954 for the son of his friend Klaus Bremer, who was also a fellow member of the Darmstadt Circle of Concrete Poets. Conceived with the intent to appeal to a child's sensibilities, Kinderbuch, or children's book, is a 28-page, spiral-bound book filled with colorful printed and die-cut geometric shapes. Absent any text or narrative element, the work appears as a graphic designer's exercise with shape, color, and balance. The reader is allowed self-directed exploration through a visual playground. The reader's turning of each page conducts interaction between physical or absent geometric shapes, and a performance of relationships is witnessed. As Stefan Ripplinger explains, the individual pages never stand for themselves alone. They give a value to what precedes or follows them, or what is to be recognized by them, a process of orientation and perception over many pages. With each page turn, a single die-cut shape transforms and carries out a new task, both as a compositional element as well as a window offering a view of previous or subsequent pages. Ultimately, the book provides a space where these shapes and colors become active, where they interact and grow. The performance is temporal, seemingly musical. The movements and rhythm in Kinderbuch accomplish a visually polyphonic rather than narrative performance, and the most lively action is the steady amplification of color and shape facilitated by the reader's interaction with the work. Compositions grow more complicated as the reader continues through the book. The size of the geometric shapes decrease as their numbers increase, causing a delightful crescendo and then decrescendo of percussive visual rhythm. In 1955, Roth created his second book, Bilderbuch, or Picture Book. Again, here is a title implying a work dedicated to young audiences, and while the visuals in Bilderbuch are more elementary in design than Kinderbuch, now the artist begins to complicate form and structure. Bilderbuch is constructed from 20 sheets of multicolored viewfoil, from which square holes are cut. It too is constructed without pagination or bibliographical information, and once orientation is established, the reader, with each turn of the page, watches compositions develop through the blending of colors and layering of squares. Minimalistic qualities put recognizable emphasis on space, reinforcing Roth's reference to the work as visual poetry. Kinderbuch stages a poetic optical performance. The array of superimposed colors and shapes delivers a kaleidoscopic display. Elements confined to one page are allowed to synthesize with individual elements not only on the next page, but with several subsequent pages simultaneously. Design also invites a non-linear experience to the book. The reader is permitted to move both forward and backward with the materials to view multiple compositions of blended colors and overlapping shapes. This forward and backward movement does not equate to a rereading of content per se, but rather a bidirectional and dialogic navigation through a work of art. Consequently, the author shares a small measure of control with the reader over the navigation of content, specifically over what the content can do. The blending of colors and mingling of squares is slightly, though not insignificantly, conditional upon the inclination of the reader. The book behaves as a performance space where physical elements meet, create optical harmony, and then diverge, all at the hand of the reader. In Volume 8, the possibilities of conceptual space evolve through an adventurous departure from the book's traditional structure. Here there is a compelling shift from performance to exhibition space. This unique work consists of 2 books of identical structure. Each is a portfolio of approximately 20 loose sheets with die-cut lines that create grids of parallel rectangles in alternating vertical and horizontal arrays. To access the colored cards, the reader removes them from a slipcase, and because the pages are not bound together, the reader is free to arrange and overlay the pages as they like. As illustrated by the works previously discussed, interaction with Roth's visual poem books generates a kind of choreographed performance, or perhaps rehearsal. Volume 8 invites a more complex and intimate experience with the artwork, which involves the reader's manipulation and control of visual exploration, a setting that fosters spontaneity and improvisation. By rearranging the cards as they wish, the reader is able to create numerous compositions of colorful parallel, perpendicular, and diagonal gridwork. Roth is both artist and curator, and the reader is an active participant with the art. The intimacy and singularity of each engagement with this book yields a unique performance which cannot be reproduced. Volume 8 is a major subversion to the idea of the book. Here, the book is no longer a reproduction or dissemination of a single text, but rather a singular creation executed by each reading, and consequently a work that cannot be circulated. Roth's investigation of conceptual exhibition space by means of the book is distinct in Volume 8, though probably best fulfilled by the self-referentiality of the Copley book. Here, the production process of the book is staged as an artistic performance, where the final product is a work of art that documents the process involved in making the book itself. Essentially, Roth's Copley book is a biographical inventory of everything used to make it. All bibliographic content involved in the book's production, letters, notes, directions, are the subject of the book. The content varies in material, shape, size, and printing quality, yet each element, whatever its full measure, is packed or folds easily and uniformly into an inconspicuous book-sized box. Ultimately, the Copley book offers 2 dialogues. One, between its format and the history of its own production, and 2, between the reader and a disjunct object that can be accessed at any point and arranged in any direction. Similar to a monograph, the work illustrates Roth's artistic practices concerning bookmaking. Yet, designating this work as Roth's writing on the subject of his own bookmaking perhaps remains in question, as it does contain managerial notes and texts censored by others. It is not only Roth's voice we are reading. What Roth has done to the everyday object of the book here is applied techniques to bookmaking that ultimately defamiliarize it to the reader. He has undone the book by deconstructing the object. Unlike Kinderbuch and Bilderbuch, the Copley book is neither directional, nor does it provide any recognizable visual theme that might give the reader a clue as to how to approach the work. It does, however, exhibit one traditional feature. It must be opened. The Gesammelte Werke edition resides in a book-sized box titled Band 12, or Volume 12. When the box is opened, an archive of itself is exhibited. One could consider it a mini-gallery of the book with paratextual works on display. Gerard Genet argues that a text without paratext does not exist, but Roth has certainly reversed the relationship between frame and narrative here, granting paratext the role of story. In fact, paratext becomes both the body or incarnation of the book object as well as the book's text. The collection of managerial anecdotes and dictated footnotes is a repository of self-reflexive material, and the object is therefore put into dialogue with itself. This plastic entity provides its beholders access to the viscera of its own construction. The production and curatorial labor of this exhibit are laid bare. It is an exposition happening beyond a comfortable architecture. To read the Copley book is, as Richard Hamilton remarks, to enter a temporary space with multiple entry points and avenues where artifacts of administrative exchange and assemblage are on view. It is not an easy book to experience, though some elements are quite humorous. For example, Roth's friend Richard Hamilton, who oversaw the production of the book, received a letter from the publisher regarding lost materials. There is also a poem about crapping, which the publisher censored. And then there is a single-page book titled Schneewittchen, or Snow White. This book within the book playfully epitomizes the conceptualization of literary object space. On the cover of this short book, Roth scribbled a note, "Nicht zu Hause," not at home. The single-page book opens up to a picture of an empty room. The reader has entered the space of the book. Snow White is not at home, and that is to say, the expected narrative is absent from the architecture. When the book is closed, the reader sees a second scribbled note on the back cover that reads, "Zu Hause," at home, implying that the reader still exists in the space of the book even after it is closed. Or perhaps alternatively, the reader might be instructed to try to enter backward. Whatever intellectual puzzle work Roth is inviting his readers to participate in, the book within the book thematizes entrance and access, but makes it unclear to the reader how to move through it. The interrelations of conceptual and formal elements excited Roth and drove his exploration with bookmaking. A visionary and prankster with a typographer's skill and avant-garde attitude, Roth created works that both deinstitutionalized and revolutionized the book.
Wie viele Minuten haben wir da geschafft? Verdammte Scheiße, Mann. Hier. Weiter oben, auch noch ein paar Minuten weg.